I guess I'll go to the Cuellar indictment and see what happened there. I don't know anything about that except that it involves like a bank in Azerbaijan or something. The government of Azerbaijan and a bank in Mexico or something. I don't know what the hell's going on there. CNN don't even have a story about that one. What the? Fox News does.
We are now getting breaking news out of Washington. CBS News has learned Congressman Henry Cuellar is being indicted by the Department of Justice. Cuellar and his wife are being charged with conspiracy, bribery, money laundering, and acting as an agent of a foreign principal. He denies any wrongdoing. Texas congressman has served in the House of Representatives since 2005 and is the former co-chair of the Congressional Azerbaijan caucus. Back in 2022, his home and Texas office were searched by the FBI as part of an investigation into businessmen with connections to Azerbaijan.
So Henry Cuellar is actually pretty well known. He's one of the more conservative Democrats. I think he's the only Democrat who's pro-life and votes against pro-choice legislation. So he's a bit of a thorn in the side of Democrats, but he represents a district in Texas that my understanding is pretty moderate. He's had some progressive challengers. There's this one woman in her mid-20s. I forgot her name, but she was a pretty well-known person, and she challenged him, I think, twice, the last two elections, and lost, of course. But it's pretty stunning for him to be indicted. It's stunning for any member of Congress to be indicted. The DOJ is not going to take that lightly. I mean, if you charge a sitting congressman or senator with a crime and you miss and they aren't convicted, that's a huge blow to the justice system in America. So now this is the third member of Congress to be indicted in this Congress. Wild.
For more on all of this, I want to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane. All right, Scott, you've taken a look at this indictment. What more can you tell us about the charges?
The prosecutors are alleging a rather elaborate scheme by Congressman Cuellar and his wife to enrich themselves in return for official acts or political acts by the congressman on behalf of the Azerbaijan government and a foreign bank. Among the allegations...
What could you do on behalf of the Azerbaijan government in America? Like, I don't even know what they'd be interested in, right? Like their feud with Armenia or something? Like, what? Are we even involved in any of that? Like, I don't know. I just don't even know what our involvement is with the government of Azerbaijan. I'd never hear anything about them.
Congressman Cuellar's wife set up this shell company in which she signed on as a consultant to various businesses tied to the Azerbaijan government or the bank, and didn't really do any work. And the payments were, in fact, payments in exchange for acts undertaken by the congressman. And this 50...
Oh, my God. It's so brazen. It's just so brazen, man. They give you a job and they pay you, and you don't even show up. You know, you think you would like play along and go show up at a fake office once in a while or something, but wow.
A whole series of alleged acts taken by the congressman to benefit the Azerbaijan government. I'm looking at some of these allegations, including helping with an immigration issue for an Azerbaijan citizen, but also helping to put language into legislation to help geopolitically or the security interests of Azerbaijan. And what's important here is some of this allegedly was undertaken from the congressman's post on the powerful House Appropriations Committee, which helps figure out where U.S. tax dollars go. They're also alleging here he tried to navigate some of the military legislation passed by Congress and swing it to the benefit of Azerbaijan. In fact, in one message they alleged in 2014, the earlier window of these allegations, they say Mr. Cuellar wrote good news to a point of contact, an Azerbaijan diplomat, about some language he got included into the National Defense Authorization Act that would be favorable to Azerbaijan. Elaine, they're alleging there were payments made to the congressman and his wife to coincide with some of these alleged acts by the congressman in Congress.
Sheesh.
I'm going to say it, Republican get bribes from the A-team dictatorships like Russian, Saudi, etc. Dems need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, it could make you lose hope in all of Congress. You hear about these corruption cases, you know, it's just sucks. Like, who are these people? I believe they get paid $174,000 a year, which I understand isn't the most money in the world, but it's a lot of money. It's not stopping you from making money in other ways, but it's like, I was wondering what the timeline was on this bribe. So if it was $600,000 and it dates back 10 years to 2014, you know, that's like 60 grand a year if you spread it about across 10 years on average, let's say. Is it worth being corrupt for 60 grand a year when you make 174? And, you know, if you have a partner, they probably make six figures as well. I mean, wow, people, they're just willing to be corrupt and risk their entire career and even freedom for tens of thousands of dollars. I say not worth it, man. And I could use 60 grand. Why not? But I'm not going to risk everything for 60 grand, man.
He thought he could get away with it because 2/3 of Americans don't know what an Azerbaijan is.
Well, sure, but I mean, the DOJ knows what it is, so, you know, you're not going to get anything past them. I just like it's got to be much bigger money for me to risk it, right? Like, well, if you're talking $600,000 a year, okay, now we're talking. If I can get away with that for a couple years, you know, maybe it's worth it. But good God, 60 grand a year to be corrupt? Really? Just makes you wonder what other schemes they have going on.
The references to his work on the House Appropriations Committee stands out to me, in part because it's potentially the most powerful of Congress's committees. When you sit there on that panel, you have extra leverage. He was a ranking member, the top Democrat on the Homeland Security Subcommittee for the House Appropriations Committee, a uniquely powerful perch. And we learned just before coming on now, Elaine, he has temporarily at least stepped aside from that ranking member's seat on the House Appropriations Committee. That was announced by the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries.
All right, so that repercussion, Scott, a direct result of this indictment. Anything else that you're hearing right now in terms of reaction? I know this is a story where the details are just emerging at this moment.
Yes, please. What other details are there? You got to wonder how much money these guys make on the side. I personally don't think the majority of them, or even a large number of them, or I would say even, I don't know, more than a handful are corrupt. Maybe you guys disagree, but I feel like most people are there to do the right thing, and they're just kind of nerds who are doing their job. But it's crazy when you hear a story like this, because when it's so brazen, you just wonder what else is going on in Congress. Depends on where we draw the line on corrupt. Sure. I mean, I'm going to start taking bets on like how many members of Congress will be indicted in this Congress. Like, this is the 118th Congress. We're up to 3. I'm going to start taking bets on how many get indicted each Congress, because it's just never going to end, man. I guess the temptation is just too hard to resist for a lot of these guys. This is the argument that we need to pay these guys more. You know, I bet you could show the math that if you paid these guys $250,000 instead of 174, that it would cut down on the corruption. I'm willing to bet it's worth it, but good luck passing a bill to give these guys like a major raise, you know? But obviously something's going on if there are a handful of them that are being corrupt. I mean, the money's not enough. 174 is already a lot. It is when you compare it to most people's salary, but look, they represent 750,000 people. They have to have like 2 houses, one in the district, one wherever they live in D.C. D.C. is a very expensive place to live, and they have to be out and about doing stuff all the time. So I don't know. I'm sure you can make an argument that they should get more money. I know it seems ridiculous to most people, but if you could make a case that it'll cut down on corruption, then I think it's worth it, right? I don't care how much we pay them, as long as we get more out of them and with less corruption and it runs more efficiently and attracts better people. Why not?
I told Kim to just give me one more love letter and I'd give him the nuclear plans, but he didn't do it. I thought we were in love.
Damn. Can't believe that didn't work out. That's the exact argument for paying them in the first place. 18th and 19th centuries, there were comical levels of corruption because they would have starved otherwise unless they were rich before they got elected. Yeah, I could see that. I think it's an interesting conversation. Now, I'd have to look at how many people are indicted for corruption every year in Congress and see just how big of a problem it is. It doesn't seem like it's the biggest of problems right now due to how infrequent these people are indicted, but I don't know. Maybe it's much bigger than I think.